Good evening and welcome to Midnight Movie Club and my review of Fractured. Now, Netflix originals are hit and miss for me. You can either get something great like The Perfection, or you can get a pile of shite like The Open House. It's really 50-50. So let's get into this review and find out if Fractured is a hit or a miss. Fractured was directed by Brad Anderson and written by Alan B. McElroy. The film stars Sam Worthington, Lily Rabe and Lucy Capri. Fractured follows Ray, his wife Joanne and their daughter Perry as they are driving back across the country from visiting their family for Thanksgiving. Along the way, they stop off at a petrol station where they have an accident and have to rush to the nearest hospital. Once in the hospital, things aren't what they seem and both Joanne and Perry disappear. Ray, convinced that the hospital has took them for a sinister reason, starts to unravel the truth about the hospital and himself. First off, I want to talk about the cinematography, which from the very outset of the film is great. Right off the bat, we are met with awesome aerial extreme long shots. We are met with these just before we are plunged into the thick of it, and once the movie really starts to get going, the cinematography stays consistent throughout, with great use of Dutch tilts that are very well used. And they aren't overdone throughout the film either. They are only used in certain areas of heightened madness and confusion and really bring across the psychological aspect of the film. Although to some people I believe they might give a couple things away, I still think they were used really well here, and when you have that angle looking down a long hallway, it really hammers home the delusion that the film creates really well throughout its runtime. This really was a really good looking film with deliberate and well thought out cinematography. Everything that was in the frame was there for a reason, and I am sure on repeat viewings you would notice things you hadn't noticed before. There are certain shots in the film that had me saying, wow, that's really cool, and I can see what they're trying to say there. Some things might have been a little on the nose, but I still liked it, and it gave you plenty to question and speculate over while watching. Now moving on to performances, Sam Worthington puts in a really good shift here. As the film's lead Ray, he really had to carry the movie, making you spiral into a frustrated state of affairs along with him, and he is very believable. You do feel his anger and frustration throughout the film, especially in the moments with the hospital's reception desk. That shit will have you really frustrated just like him. You really do want to see him get to the bottom of what's going on, and you feel for him. I was surprised by how much I actually cared about the outcome of this film and how the story was going to end for Ray. Now, Lily Rabe has nowhere near as much screen time as Worthington, but when she is there, she is also really good and believable. You can really feel the family domestic tension between Joanna and Ray. This I feel was down to the writing and the pacing of the film. The pacing was very natural and never felt to lose its way throughout the film once. There was maybe one point where it was a little back and forth, right in the middle, but it wasn't enough to sway my attention. For the most part, the events of the film unfold in a very natural way that seemed very real and not cliche at all. The dialogue as well isn't too exposition heavy at all. The information you get fed is spaced out over the whole film and not all just dumped on you at once. There is a little bit of explanation here and there, but I felt like it came at the right time and wasn't out of place for the scenes that it was in. One thing I didn't really care for though was a backstory to one of the main characters. I just never really got why it was there. It was maybe to make them seem unreliable or something like that, but I just felt it wasn't needed at all and the movie would have been fine without it. It was like they just wanted to add something else into the mix for the sake of it without wondering why precisely it was there. In saying this though, the writing was very good I thought, and the writer plays with your mind quite a lot throughout the film in a way that makes you believe one side of the story for a while, only to then sway your belief into another direction soon after. For some, the film might seem too predictable. I'm sure there are people who will claim they figured it out in the opening minutes, but for me, it kept me guessing for quite a while. Now, there are some practical effects in here as well, and I have to say they were very, very good when they did come up. There isn't much, but of what there is, they are cool and add a little bit of gore to a film that's more about how scary the mind and hospitals can be instead of how gross gore is. But I was happy to see some practical effects, as I always am. Something else that I want to talk about and something I thought was fantastic in the film was the score. Anton Sanko composed the music, and it's a mix of soft, scattered piano notes and low, menacing clarinet sounding drones. The drones made me think of Hereditary straight away, as they created a similar tone and atmosphere in the film's slower moments, with the accelerando of the piano notes really coming to the front in the more hectic, crazy moments. The music really added to the pacing and the tension of the film overall. And the sound design overall is very good. They managed to blur in between conversations with muffling some dialogue and letting other dialogue take over. Along with this, it's complemented by the great cinematography I've mentioned before that racks its focus and plays with the depth of field while these changes in audio occur. With all that, the film does blur the lines of reality and fantasy well, along with what is the truth and what is lies. Fractured also had a real nice colour palette, being very drab and washed out, but with pinches of colour in the right places that draw your attention when it needs to be drawn. Now, there were another couple of wee problems I had with the film that I can't say here in non-spoilers, but I will touch on in the spoiler section. But all in all, Fractured is a lot like Flight Plan but in a hospital. It is a very effective psychological thriller that will make you feel for its main character and have you feeling frustrated along the way with him. It has just the right amount of twists and turns to keep you guessing, and while certain aspects may seem convenient and brushed over, it overall is a very intriguing film with a satisfying conclusion. With all that said, I'm going to give Fractured a 4 out of 5 rating. Let me know what you made of Fractured in the comments section down below. I was very surprised and really enjoyed this one. It wasn't quite as good as The Perfection, as I mentioned before. That's my favourite Netflix original of the year and possibly of all time. But for me, this is pretty close to it, and it's one of the better films I've seen this year. If you enjoyed this video, then please do give it a like, and if you haven't already, then what are you doing? Subscribe to join the club. As always, thank you very much for watching, and good night.